All right. Welcome to this episode of Warrior Week, Parables from the Pit with me, Colin Talley, Coach Colin Talley, our COO here at Wake Up Warrior. Also, Colin ran multiple Warrior Weeks with me, coach multiple Kingdom challenges, and has been inside of the game for more than 4 years with us. So, actually 3 years, right?
Coming on 3 years.
Coming on 3 years. So, Colin, welcome to the show, brother.
Glad to be here.
We have a spontaneous topic to talk about. We just finished recording another podcast with Coach Kevin Boissin on Warrior Woman, and then I've reached out to Colin this morning and said, "Bro, let's get in the podcast room. I want to talk about something." And I quite didn't know what I want to talk about, but I don't know why even I sent you the message. So we're gonna figure that out as we talk in the next 10, 20 minutes, coming to you live here from the podcast studio of Warrior Week Parables from the Pit. Sit down, relax, and enjoy this episode. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you a story. Yesterday, I got a phone call from one of our brother's wife, and we had a conversation, and that conversation led to seeing that brother in my office.
Yep.
And you were part of that, and as well as Garrett. And in the office in the afternoon, where we were sitting down and we were like drawing some shit on the wall, there was a very certain moment, that I have seen this moment. And it was this image of me sitting exactly where I was sitting. He was sitting on the couch. He asked me the same question, and we had drawings exactly on a window type of door. 100% with guaranteed. Not any delusion, not something as easy as we call Deja Vu and dismiss that shit. It was an image that I had seen a few weeks back, if not a month or two, somewhere. Maybe it was a dream. It was most probably a dream.
Okay.
So I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh man, okay, I think I'm having a deja vu. But then I stopped myself saying, why do I dismiss something so important but just labeling it as deja vu? It's like, okay, I call it deja vu. It's as if it's normal that it happens.
Right.
It's not fucking normal. Because the last time that this happened was maybe years back that I was so certain about it. This has happened to my life. I don't remember how many times, but I know it's not that many times.
Right.
It's not that many often that I just call it a deja vu and move over. So that's what happened yesterday, and I had to stop, and I had to listen to the message I was getting inside of that. And it was simple. When I woke up this morning, I thought about you. So, not that, you're... for the record, I did not have
when you
a
had this
boner.
thought? No boner and fully clothed.
Just for the record, we clean this out. But seriously, man, I thought about you, and I said, okay, it would be great to have a podcast with Colin. And in the back of my mind, you had shared a message in our common group message with us that kind of took a spot, right? It took a spot, not knowing exactly when was that sent, because we were just looking for the message and figured out this was sent like 6 days ago, 4 days ago, thinking that this was a message last night, not even thinking that something said, just have a conversation with Colin. And I reached out to you. Your schedule was hectic, and inside of that, we were able to find out 20 minutes of your time here to sit down and just talk about this. But that's what led us in this room right now. It's September 19. It's 12:08. We're here with no fucking plan, but something said be here. And as you looked for your message and you started reading it, all I can share with you is dude, no, that wasn't a message. That wasn't a message. And the one message that the keyword was seeking, and you were able to find that. What came to you, man? When you shared the message with us?
It really hit me so hard that we, as a group of men, both inside the core as well as inside the Brotherhood, are seekers. We would not be here otherwise, right? It would be easier in many ways to not seek, right? To not seek answers, to not seek new experiences, to not seek new understanding. I mean, seeking, it sounds mystical and amazing and all this kind of stuff, but it can also be painful. It can also be tiring. It can also open up things that you don't necessarily want to face. But this life purpose of seeking creates what we share and what is common among us. So what was interesting to me as we got into that conversation as a very small group of within the coach's thread was the fact that what is common between us, even though we're all very different, our ages are different, our background is different, our accents are different.
Yes.
And yet in that, what is common is that we are seeking and we continue to seek. And as long as we do, we stay connected. And then sometimes we drift apart from people, but that's because some people choose to not keep seeking. And what drives that connection, especially in that group as we were having that interaction that night, was the fact that we are committed as men and for ourselves, for our families, and even for this movement to continue to seek answers, seek the truth, seek new revelation.
Yes. And so I'm gonna give you an example about me and seeking, but here's what I fucking know in my heart, right? I know in my heart that two years ago, I literally declared that I'm not a seeker. I suck at seeking, and I'll tell you the story on that. We're face to face again. I told him that. Today, it's the only thing that is on top of my, like, it's my priority number one, right, to seek. But I can tell you with guarantee, 100% guarantee, knowing your background and honoring and respecting your background, and you continuously hear that from me, and you will.
Yeah.
14 times Iron Man, just to put yourself continuously in that environment and endurance, and like, it's fucking huge, right? We're not going to just dismiss it and say, yeah, with some shit that I done. No, bro, it is something that I continue to fucking respect and continue to talk about it. Even before saying, Colin, hey, bro, there's like 14-man Iron Man. So, but point is this, is that during those 14 events, like, brother, you were seeking, right? You were seeking something. And you've probably found at each of those a step towards what you were seeking. But you were seeking long before worry came into your life, like 3 years ago.
Sure.
So talk to us a little bit about that. Like, seeking moments in those in that period, way before, so that seeking doesn't get labeled to warrior itself.
For sure. So I can even so way before that, I can even think back to just seeking answers as a child, like to questions that I had. I remember being introduced to topics in religion class in school and Catholic school, and having questions and seeking answers, like struggling with some of the concepts and the ideas and seeking a different level of understanding than what was necessarily being taught or what was on the board or what was in my book and what I had to study. And so that seeking has been as long as I can remember, seeking to understand, seeking to see. And so, yes, the endurance side of my life certainly opened that, but it was as much the experience of developing to the event. And again, oftentimes people will focus on the event itself, but it was really the years, the days that led up to each one of those where so much is discovered. Mm-hmm. So much is discovered in, a cold morning where nobody's watching and you can, like, it's just cold and it's miserable and you're uncomfortable and but there's something that happens in that there's a thought, there's a moment that opens up and you find something, you discover something. And quite frankly, you just have the space. So part of that seeking is just creating space for myself.
So, what resonates with me is that, it's easy to see that, and I experienced that. There are moments when you're physically training. Yeah. And inside of the physical training is like, no one knows. It's late at night. You're in a swimming pool.
Right.
You're in a gym. Or like no one knows but you, and it's an empowering moment.
Yeah.
Because it's a self-reflection that you literally don't need anyone but the certainty and confidence in you to do what you're doing. It's a reassuring moment, isn't it?
It is, and it's, as you're just talking, I'm almost seeing a lock, like the seeking part of the physical thing that we can talk about. There's other ways to do it through meditation, through other spiritual practices with your family, whatever. But this seeking and this space, it's almost like you have to have the combination to open that lock and open that window. I tell people all the time that, when they ask questions specifically about warrior, what goes on inside of even a warrior week or the pit or whatever, it's like, listen, that what you see is an action. What you see are things that you assume you understand. What they ultimately are is an opportunity for a window to open for me to see in the midst of that. And so for the men, for you, for me to have a chance to see, which is, again, just the container in which that happens. And so the seeking happens because of the action we take, whether that's by ourselves, whether that's at an event, whatever it may be. But it's the way we have an opportunity to see things we can't see just walking through life. Just like you had yesterday with this moment that opened up. And instead of blowing it off and saying, oh, it's just fucking deja vu, no, there was a divine moment that said, hey, this moment matters. You may not even know why you had that experience or why you had a foreshadowing that you came back to. But the bottom line is, instead of blowing it off, you're like, wait a minute, I'm going to pay attention to this moment because I was forewarned and messaged in whatever way you believe that to occur, that this was going to happen. And this moment matters, because some moments are worth 100,000 other moments.
So true. So true. And so I remember 2 years ago, Garrett put 2 years ago, I believe, Garrett put like an assignment in front of us. And one of the questions was, on a scale of 1 to 10, or, as a seeker, what number would you give yourself? I remember I give myself 1 or 2, right? And all the other stuff, I give myself 9 or 8 or whatever. And like, I was proud that, hey, man, like, I'm all these other stuff. Like, I'm energy, I'm this, and I'm not just a seeker. It wasn't until today in this conversation that I didn't understood the meaning of a seeker. And as far as I can remember in my life, until now, I've never seeked anything until 2 years ago. Like 2 years ago, actually a year ago, I started being on the seeking journey.
Right.
Warrior led me to seek. I was not conscious about what I was seeking, and I became very clear on what I'm seeking a year ago. And it's just like I'm seeking spiritual development towards my own configuration of what this means, right? Not borrowing anything, not spitting on anything either, but like really transitioning from the world of information to encounter.
Right.
And that's what I remember the only thing that I was seeking, the only thing that most of my life I was seeking was inside of my math classes. I was really good at math, and I was actually the best in my class at maths. And I would always seek the X and Y and Z in the equations, and I would care about solving a math problem, where I specifically remember comments from friends and other family members that, like, who gives a shit? It's not going to serve you. And so it's not going to serve you. It's not going to serve you. Going to college, I wanted to become a mathematician. Like, that was a desire, because I was good at it. What you're good at, you want to continue.
Sure.
And then my dad was like, no, go to become a doctor. And I took my first biology class, and I saw blood, and I freaked out, man. And that was the end of it. But people kept saying, it's not going to serve you. It's not. I specifically remember, it's not going to serve you. It's not going to serve you. Like, it's not going to serve you. Like, being a mathematician. At most, you're going to be a teacher of mathematics, right? So it's not going to serve you. It's not. Most recently, in the past couple of months, I have this desire to learn mathematics even more.
Yeah.
And it's not going back to. It's for a reason. It's as if that's the only tool to me that could enable me to continue on the seeking path and figure out the puzzle.
Yeah.
So like yesterday with the glass window, I'm started writing X equal to some shit like that, just to see how it writes on the, and it's like, yeah, this is all happening for a reason. There is this desire for me in mathematics. I'm understanding mathematics purpose more and more and more. I'm not saying, man, I'm not near anybody that could figure some shit out, but I have interest. It is calling. It is seeking me.
Yeah.
It is seeking me. So I don't know where this is going to go. There's going to be an updated show where we're going to talk about this. But I did want to share with you that this seeking experience for me, Warrior led me, put me in a place that I actually believe that I can be a seeker. Once that belief kick in, then I choose what I want to seek. And it's often but what's seeking me. And that connection kind of happens and pulls you. It's not that I'm pushing towards it. It's a pull and push from my experience. So what are you seeing inside of that for you, man?
So there's two, as you're talking, there's two concepts. And, I often do push off the conversation around my athletic events and so on and so forth, just because I do at times. But The two concepts as you're talking that I came to think about were one, mastery, and the other is wisdom. And as long as I can remember, the two things that I thought about as I grew to be an older man, I wanted to work hard enough and understand enough and be active enough, not just in theory but in practice, to master something, to become a master of something, you know. And I've often, the highest honor I think that I place on something is wisdom. And so as you're talking about, I'm thinking about the seeking. I'm thinking about you being reconnected to something that started in you long ago, and it's about being committed enough to move to a level of mastery in a topic or whatever. And again, in the endurance career, I think as you're saying that, I'm thinking the reason I stayed in that was I wanted to move to a level of mastery in that world. I'm not saying I was a professional or whatever, but I got to a very high level of performance, and there was a level of mastery in that. And as a man, as I think through all the areas that we work on here, and then just that I've worked on my life before here, it was about being, when somebody says they feel like I gave them great wisdom or I'm wise, and I think about myself as an old man who may not be able to do as many things, but if my family and the people that are connected to me think of me as a wise man, that would be the ultimate compliment. But that comes from decades of seeking mastery across multiple disciplines.
That's so beautiful, because at the end of the day, when we live this world at a certain age and we pass away, and yes, we can leave like some wealth behind, right, from family. We can also leave some great characters, things that we've done. Like, hey, he was a great guy, and he was a great dad. He was a great husband, and we can leave a bunch of good stuff behind, right?
Sure.
Examples, and stories, and like, we led a life to create some legacy, right? So you got wealth, and you got legacy, which is your package, right?
Yeah.
With your behaviors and patterns that you left behind for others to follow and remember you by.
Yeah.
And then you brought in a very interesting aspect, which is the master craft, right? Your mastery can also be left behind, and that's exactly what's happening right now with a lot of like art, right? Or mathematicians, or they left a masterpiece behind forever.
There's a piece.
Which is,
right.
There is the masterpiece, there is the person, and there is the wealth, right? So you leave money for generation, right? Because you worked hard to do that.
Yep.
And if you don't, it is what it is. You leave who you are as a man, as character and behaviors and patterns for your family to remember and remind you and so on.
Right, yeah.
But the mastered art craft, whatever you mastered, that lives forever if you truly arrive at that level of mastery.
Right.
And some may arrive at that age, and some may arrive at that earlier. But those that have left a masterpiece behind are still serving us. It's just like a living entity by itself.
Right.
Because there's so much energy and work that was put into it for you to master that it now has its own like control, its own energy, its own power, its own force to exist.
For sure.
So what if what we're seeking at the end of the day is a mastery?
Yeah. And that as we build that mastery, then we can live from a place of wisdom, which we can then share, which then impacts.
That's beautiful. And that's what Warrior kind of enables.
Yeah.
And I'm not sitting here and saying you couldn't arrive at this definition if you were not doing something else. But one thing you had to be fucking aware is that you must be aware.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I wasn't.
Yeah, I wasn't either. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, listen, there may be a better way than Warrior. I just don't know what it is, and I'm not going to take the time to go find it. So I'm not saying it's the only way, or even to say that it's the best way. It works for me.
Right.
It works for the people that I'm associated, works for us. But I'm unwilling to not seek what's possible inside this path to build and try to go find the better, the best, whatever way, because then that's going to distract me from developing the mastery and moving to a level of wisdom that I desire for my life.
Quick, and I think the piece that Warrior enables, and that's why it works for you and I, is that Warrior promotes seeking.
Yes.
Warrior doesn't put a cap at it. Warrior doesn't say you have arrived. Warrior continues seeking. And we totally feel that inside of all the changes internally that we're making and the adjustment. And at one side, you're like, fuck, man. Can we just fucking just like put some stable shit in place? On the other side, it's like, this is who we are.
Yeah.
We are seekers. We will never stop.
Yeah. And the beautiful part to me is I think oftentimes when you hear the word seeking, and this may be why you rated yourself a 1 or a 2 before, is that we think of seeking as this massive move, like from here to the moon. And to me, seeking's a 1/4 inch at a time. It's a 1/2 inch at a time. It's one step at a time. And so that's where things change, and that's where this this concept aligns with what we do inside Warrior, because it is about this incremental shift, 1 a day, revelation a day. Some days they're massive, like the one we read the other day was a massive revelation for me. And then when we read it this morning, I was like, oh, okay. But it was still
Step.
step, step, step.
And so, if you're a man sitting here and listening to this podcast, and if just this podcast by itself, or this conversation the past 20 minutes by itself, has opened a venue for you to search before seeking, right? Just to search.
Yeah.
Give your permission to search.
Yeah.
Don't study, don't compare, just search some shit and see what comes up. And from searching, your interest gets into seeking. Whatever this means, this is one of those venues. This is one of those little steps.
Yep.
At least it is for me.
Yeah.
I mean, now you open the box in my mind about 2 things. Okay, the moment that happened yesterday, it was a seeking moment, period. Like I put a dot around it. That's very clear for me in this call.
Yep.
So whenever that happens again, fuck Deja Vu. I know how to call it because there's an association of that label that has power.
Yes.
So, oh shit, this is a seeking moment.
Yeah.
What am I seeking? Let me stop. Like,
respect it, own it, just
respect it.
Just absorb it for whatever it is.
Don't dismiss it.
Yeah.
This is a seeking moment.
And I will as well, because I would do it. So it's beautiful that you brought it up, because it's going to remind me not to walk away from it as well.
And the second part of this is the word mastery. Before this conversation, when I would hear mastery, I would always see it more worthy in some characters out there.
Right.
Some guy that spent 20 years in Nepal and on top of the hills, and he never talked to anyone. He's the master or seeker.
Yeah.
Or some other. Like before this conversation, I would associate mastery with some other dude.
Yeah.
Some other, like the master, right?
Right.
Where here, now, there's a shift. It's like, I can seek mastery.
Yeah.
And I can seek mastery of a thing that is calling me, that a thing that I'm being pulled towards.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful, man. So I don't know if I'm going to be seeking mat or whatever that is, but there is a mastery in all of us. And so as long as we see it in others, we never give ourselves permission to seek that.
Right.
So thanks for your gift. Thanks for being here. Any final words as we shut this down and move forward to the next episode?
Just that it's such a pleasure to sit here and have this conversation with you, and to be able to share together and know that this conversation not only serves each of us as individuals, but serves our family and serves those who come here. So it's just a beautiful thing to be a part of, to have a situation where we spend 15 or 20 minutes and you and I get to walk out of this room and we'll be different because of it. And we hope that the content and this conversation helps some of you who may be seeking as well. And so we all, it's beautiful because we all win.
And I love hearing that from you, because that's truly what I feel in my heart, is that, Warrior Week Parables from the Pit was, there's one fucking intention, and that is just the truth of the moment.
Yeah.
And it gets revealed through us somehow, and it gets broadcasted to whoever's going to listen to it today, tomorrow. Our intention was nothing more than that. Because our intention is true with this conversation, and it just goes out, our expectation is zero from it, because our intention is to broadcast the truth at the level that you and I know today.
Yeah.
And hey, 60 days from now, 20 days from now, that level may change.
Sure.
But thanks for being with us.
Of course.
Appreciate you being here. And as some of the peeps back at home would tell you, what is ya?
See y'all later.
All right, gentlemen, have yourself a fantastic day.
It was out.